When the AAIR exam puts a scenario in front of you, it often expects you to apply a framework, not just identify that frameworks exist. NIST RMF and ISO 42001 are the two most critical frameworks for AAIR candidates. They are referenced across all three domains, and understanding how they work in practice is the difference between reading a question and knowing the answer. In this video, we're going deep on both frameworks, what they are, how they're structured, and how they apply to the AI risk professional's job. Let's get into it. Let me start with a question. Why do frameworks matter? Because they give risk professionals a common language and a structured process. Without a framework, AI risk management becomes ad hoc, different teams doing different things with no common baseline. NIST RMF and his 42001 solve that problem. NIST AIRMF is a voluntary framework developed by the US National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's organized around four functions: govern, map, measure, and manage. It's widely adopted globally, not just in the US, because it's principles-based and flexible enough to apply across sectors and AI system types. IS 42001 is a management system standard, structurally similar to IS 27001 for information security. It requires a formal governance structure, a documented AI policy, and a systematic approach to AI risk assessment. Unlike NIST, IS 42001 is certifiable. Organizations can have their AI management system independently audited and certified. Both frameworks are referenced in real AI regulations globally, including the EU AI Act, which encourages alignment with recognized standards. For AIR candidates, knowing these frameworks means knowing the architecture of responsible AI governance. The govern function is the foundation of everything in NIST AIRMF. Before you can map risks, measure them, or manage them, you need governance structures in place. Govern establishes the organizational context for AI risk. It means having clear policies that define how AI risk is identified, assessed, and escalated. It means leadership commitment. The board and C-suite must genuinely own AI risk, not just delegate it entirely to technical teams. It means resource allocation, dedicated budget, skilled personnel, and time. A risk program that exists on paper but has no resources is not a program. And it means stakeholder engagement, capturing risk perspectives from inside and outside the organization. When I think about what govern looks like in practice, I think about a client I worked with who had excellent AI policies and a strong technical team, but the risk function had never been in the same room as the AI development team. They were governing in parallel universes. Govern is about connecting those worlds, creating the organizational conditions where risk management is integrated into AI decision-making rather than bolted on afterward. The map function is where you establish context, and this is where the real analytical work begins. Think of map as answering three fundamental questions. What AI systems do we have? What can go wrong with them? And who could be affected? Categorizing your AI systems is the starting point. Not all AI carries equal risk. A recommendation engine that suggests products has a very different risk profile from an algorithm that makes credit decisions. MAP helps you understand and document that distinction. Once systems are categorized, you map them to potential harms. What are the failure modes? Who are the affected stakeholders, users, employees, third parties, communities? What regulations and frameworks apply? Impact and likelihood assessment creates the foundation for prioritization. You can't treat every risk equally with finite resources. MAP gives you the analytical basis for deciding where to focus. In practice, MAP looks like a cross-functional workshop where risk, legal, technical, and business teams collectively build the AI risk universe for a specific system. The diversity of perspectives is essential. Each function sees risks the others might miss. MAP is the diagnostic phase. You're building the picture before you start treating. If MAP answers what are the risks, measure answers how significant are they. This is the quantification and qualification phase. Measure involves developing key risk indicators, specific, measurable metrics tied to the AI risks identified in MAP. For a credit decisioning model, a KRI might be the rate of adverse decisions by demographic group. For a content moderation system, it might be the false positive rate for flagged content. Benchmarking is part of measure 2. You establish what good looks like, acceptable thresholds for accuracy, fairness, and reliability, and then measure actual system performance against those thresholds. Continuous measurement is the standard NIST expects. Not a one-time assessment at deployment, a sustained process that reflects actual system behavior in production. This is where monitoring infrastructure becomes a governance requirement, not just a technical nice to have. And here's why measure matters for the AAIR exam specifically. Scenario questions often describe a situation where metrics are missing, thresholds aren't defined, or monitoring has lapsed. The correct answer usually involves establishing or restoring the measure function. Being able to recognize that pattern and respond correctly is a skill this video is helping you build. Manage is where all the work in govern, map, and measure pays off. This is the execution phase, implementing risk treatment strategies and monitoring their effectiveness. Based on what map identified and measure quantified, manage documents risk response plans with clear ownership, timelines, and defined residual risk levels. Who is responsible for this control? By when must it be implemented? What residual exposure is being accepted? These aren't bureaucratic questions, they are accountability structures. Manage also involves ongoing monitoring of control effectiveness. Implementing a control is not the same as having an effective control. Controls degrade, environments change. Manage ensures controls remain effective over time, not just at the point of implementation. And crucially, Manage integrates AI risk management into operational workflows. Risk management shouldn't be a separate activity that happens alongside AI operations. It should be embedded in change management, incident response, vendor management, and development pipelines. Think of NIST AI RMF as a continuous cycle, not a one-time exercise. Govern sets the foundation, map identifies the risks, measure quantifies them, manage treats and monitors them, and then you loop back. Because AI systems evolve and so do their risks. Let's shift to ISO 42001. And I want to start by making an important analogy. If you're familiar with ISO 27001 for information security, ISO 42001 will feel immediately familiar. It follows the same high-level structure, what ISO calls the harmonized structure, which makes it easier to integrate with other management systems your organization might already operate. ISO 42001 requires top management commitment. The AI policy must be authorized at the leadership level, not just drafted by the risk team. It requires a formal governance structure, defined roles, responsibilities, and authority for AI risk management. And it mandates a systematic risk assessment process specific to AI systems and their context of use. Context matters enormously in ISO 42001. Two organizations using the same AI model can face very different risks depending on their sector, their data, their deployment context, and their regulatory environment. ISO 42001 expects you to document and respond to that context, not apply a one-size-fits-all approach. Certification is available, and it's increasingly being used as a signal of AI governance maturity, both for regulators and for enterprise customers conducting vendor due diligence. For AIR candidates, ISO 42001 represents the governance layer that operationalizes responsible AI at the enterprise level. Let me introduce the framework that often gets overlooked: ISO 23894. While ISO 42001 is the management system standard, ISO 23894 is the risk management guidance specifically for AI. Think of them as complementary. ISO 42001 tells you how to structure your AI management system, while ISO 23894 tells you how to conduct AI risk assessments within that system. ISO 23894 integrates AI risk management with ISO 31000, the international standard for enterprise risk management. This is significant because it means AI risk is positioned within the broader enterprise risk framework rather than as a standalone specialty. The methodology it provides covers AI-specific risk assessment, how to identify AI risk sources, analyze their impacts, evaluate their significance relative to risk criteria, and treat them systematically. Stakeholder engagement is a particular emphasis because AI risks often affect people outside the organization, and their perspectives must be captured in the assessment process. For AAIR candidates, the key takeaway is that these frameworks work together. NIST AI RMF gives you an operational framework for governing, mapping, measuring, and managing AI risk. IS 42001 gives you a certifiable management system structure, and 23894 gives you the risk assessment methodology that sits inside both. Understanding how they fit together is what scenario-based AAIR questions test.